Jesse James has a new television show, Jesse James Outlaw Garage. It's on Discovery Channel. It premieres Monday at 10 p.m. on the Discovery Channel. Good morning, Jesse. How are you, my man?
Good morning.
So you have
How's it going over there?
It's going good. Tell me about this new show that you have. How is this different from some of the past shows, or is it in the same vein?
It's just the same stuff, just me building stuff. Like I'm only doing the same thing all the time, and they just film it and call it a different name. So that sounds exciting, right?
Yeah, well, yes, I guess, I suppose. So, is there going to be is there a cast of characters along with you that are doing this?
It just kind of follows along my my shop in Austin called Austin Speed Shop, and then all the guys here at the shop, and they're like, us taking on pretty heavy duty projects, and just pulling it off, and like kind of showcasing more, not so much on reality TV and fake phony stuff. This is more just about showcasing skills and hard work and that type of stuff. So
you where did you grow up, Jesse?
I was born in Linwood, California. I grew up in South Central LA.
And did you have it sounds I'm reading stuff about you, and I didn't know a lot of this stuff about Jesse James. Your parents divorced when you were young, and your father raised you primarily, right?
Yep.
Was it a tumultuous childhood, or was it pretty easygoing?
Well, my dad was I kind of had to like swim or sink when I was really young, because my dad, he was kind of involved with some business stuff that wasn't, on the legal side of town. So, that kind of occupied his time, and like, he was spotty. He was hit and miss. He taught me a lot of stuff about hard work and work ethic, and, not half-assing stuff. But, as far as like, being a present dad or anything, they were both my parents were kind of that beatnik era, like pre-hippie beatnik era. Mm-hmm. So in the 70s, early 80s, they were like, oh man, these kids are a drag,
Did you, what was this illegal? Was he doing drug dealing or something, or was he illegal stuff your dad was into?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I'm reading here that now I'm reading that he physically and emotionally abused you, or is that sort of an overstatement that I'm just reading in an article?
Well, he broke my arm when I was like 7, and I, just because he had like a crazy temper and stuff like that, and so that kind of had like set the tone for my whole relationship as a kid. I was always kind of fearful of him, and then I didn't think it ever had an effect on anything, but all that stuff when we were kids has like a lasting effect the rest of your life. So until you like kind of figure it out.
You have children now. How does that affect the way that you are as a father to your children? Are you the complete opposite of the way that your dad was?
Well, I've had like anger issues and stuff like that, but when my last divorce happened, I went to a treatment facility and kind of dealt with all childhood pain and baggage and all this stuff, mainly because I didn't want to become my dad. I wanted to, be a calmer, like, presence in their lives, and someone that they could like really, really, lean on, like you're supposed to be able to parent. I'm a hard ass with them to a certain extent that like, I'm not really their friend. I'm here to make sure they get good grades and are healthy and have good values and morals and all that stuff. But, I think, it's a work in progress always for any parent to like try to make themselves better so they can be a better parent,
Yeah, a lot of parents these days, you're right. They want to be best friends with their children instead of actually parenting their children. Now, I'm not saying you're mean to your kid or anything, but
give their kids like participation awards. Yay, little Bobby didn't win, but he participated. I think that messes kids up. Kids gotta know adversity. They can't taste victory until they've like really felt adversity and, that trial and
Oh,
error.
I agree with you 100%. We coddle kids too much these days. So then after a while, you played football in college. You had an injury. Then you became a bodyguard. You're a pretty big guy. You became a bodyguard. One of the things that I sort of stuck out as I was reading about Jesse James and his new television show, Jesse James Outlaw Garage, premieres this Monday, 10 p.m. on Discovery Channel. You actually worked as a bodyguard for Danzig. I'm assuming that you've seen that video of Danzig being punched out by some guy in a band like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I saw it. That didn't happen when I was around.
You didn't let that happen, but how was the guy to work for? Was he?
He was actually pretty cool. I think he took on a little bit of a father figure role because I was only like 19 or 20 when I started touring with them all over the world, and then Glenn was probably in his late 30s, early 40s, so it was like kind of, and it like kind of, I don't know, like I look up to him still. I mean, he's a crazy little dude, and like, gets himself into some trouble as far as like, obviously he got knocked out because he got in some big dude's face, but I don't know. I think he's an icon of like that whole music rock industry from the Misfits and Sam Hain and all that. And like, I don't know. I really learned a lot from him,
So he wasn't like a dick or anything like that, because in that video you couldn't really tell like who started it or whatever. But and then after that,
I got a million stories of him like being kind of a little bitch and temperamental stuff. But we're always friends, and we're friends still today. And I think when you like someone and you're around them, you have to overlook their inadequacies and just call them out on it. And I think he was kind of always not afraid of me, but like respected me because he knew I was like fearless and didn't care.
Right.
So he kind of gave me a wide berth,
Did and then you got injured in falling off a stage or something, I think, and that sort of ended your bodyguard career. And then you ended up that's how you sort of got into building motorcycles, and of course then a special television special, and that sort of led to your uprise in building motorcycles and whatnot. It's been
I was already kind of one of the biggest motorcycle builders in the world, I think, press-wise in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then TV came along. I mean, I had a really successful business in one of the biggest, best shops in the world and building like super, super nice stuff. And then TV jumped on it and then made it, stupid, just kind of like supercharged everything. So
in hindsight, you get the television, you get the fame. It's good for business and everything. You end up marrying Sandra Bullock. Do you think that in hindsight, when you look back, do you think that getting so big on television, it allowed you to do a lot of stuff, but did that also, was it a hindrance or to you with some of the issues maybe from your childhood and your parents' divorce, that kind of stuff? Did that then help those things manifest later in life? Did the head get too big or
Oh, totally, dude. It was like a tiger by the tail. I think it was like my ego. I was married to Sandy for almost 6 years and loved her, but there was clear flaws right from the beginning. But I'm Jesse James. I can do anything. I can fix anything. And staying in a relationship way too longer than I should have. I shouldn't. I should have. I don't know. I think it was my ego that kept me in, and then like fear that, also fear, that like, oh man, what's going to happen if we divorce or anything, and it was a mistake, and look how it blew up in my face.
And I'm also kind of guessing. One time, in fact, you were married to a porn star. I dated a porn star years ago. This is like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. I dated a porn star for a year, and one of the reasons was that I stayed with her for a year was just that it was a novel thing to date a porn star for a radio guy.
I think anybody in that industry, I mean, you obviously have experience in that you got to be a little bit messed up to do it.
Yeah, Yeah,
and like I will never say one bad thing about her. We were only married for 4 months, but I have an amazing 8-year-old daughter that we had together, and she's like my best bro in the whole world and like the light of my life. And so like, even though the relationship was horrible and like nuclear warfare for less than a year, this like amazing diamond came out of it. So like, I would go through it all again if in the end I could have Sonny. It's just one of those things, and like, even speaking of the relationship with Sandy and all that, like, even though it wasn't right from the beginning, and hindsight's 20/20, and I can look back and spot all the things that were wrong and all the drama and everything that blew up. Today, right now, where I'm standing, my life's a million times better. So I had to go through all that. Everything's like a journey, and it's like, wow, to like tell me like 2 years ago in the middle of all that BS that like, hey, guess what? In 2 years, your life's going to rule.
Yeah, when everyone hates you 2 years ago.
Yeah, and you're going to have, your kids are going to be happy, and you're going to live on an awesome property, and you're going to like, your creativity is going to come back, and you're going to work like a dog again and like be super happy. I would have never believed it, but that's just the way life works sometimes. It's just, I think it's a little far-fetched for people to believe because no, but everybody has problems. Everybody gets cheated on. Everybody, cheats on someone. This is all just common life.
It happens, but it doesn't happen in the public eye like it did with you.
The only difference is they're not on the cover of the Bangladesh Times. But that's just the nature of my life. It's like.
Does she hate you now? This is my last question. Is there any way to patch that up and at least, that there's like hey, we're kind of cool on a level? Or is there, I know how women are. They just can.
It is what it is, man. You just got to let a dead dog lie. And like, there's a lot of stuff that went on that no one knows about, but just like, kind of like, hey, this is it. We need to go our separate ways. And like, and then, that's just the way it is sometimes, my kid's mom that I was with for 10 years, the older kids, Carla, her and I are best bros. I don't know how I was with her for so long, but I see her totally different, and she's like, she rules. She's, a badass chick, but like, and our relationship is rad, and our kids benefit from it,
Well, Jesse's new show is called Jesse James Outlaw Garage. It premieres this Monday, 10 p.m. on Discovery Channel. Jesse, you've been great. I hope we'll get.
Sounds like my new show's Dr. Phil.
Well, look, man, you've got so much interest. I wish I had half an hour because I'd love to talk to you just in detail about all sorts of different stuff. But I mean, you've had a pretty interesting life from top to bottom, all the highs and the lows. Very interesting.
Yep. That's just the nature of it. Sainted 1 minute, strung up the next. That's the way it'll always be.
Well, good luck with this new show, and thank you for coming on, my man.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Jesse James.